Good morning, everybody. You're on the Wake Up Tucson show on 1030 The Voice, local news and talk. Good morning to all of you Wakies and special guests, as we like to say. What I want to spend this first hour on, and I never dreamed I'd be talking about this today. So I get on the interwebs after the show yesterday, and I'm flipping through some Facebook, right? And I see also it's D-Day today, so that's our music today. But I see this Facebook post by Durband, and she's the wife of a good friend of mine over the years named Donovan Durband. And I was shocked, everyone was shocked to find out that Donovan died over the weekend. And it sounded like he passed away asleep in his bed. So nothing weird or anything like that. He passed away. I mean, it's unexpected, and but he passed away peacefully in his bed. And I want to spend part of this hour talking about Donovan. And some of you are going, who the hell is Donovan? Maybe you're a newer listener and you haven't heard of Donovan. And I want to take this moment and I think the moments between now and I know they're working on a possible memorial for him at the Fox Theater. I want to talk about how I know Donovan and why he's important and why he's going to be very, very, very missed. So I met Donovan Durband. Now, Donovan, when he passed away, was the director of Park Tucson. So that was anything that have to do with the city's parking program. Parking garages, parking spaces, all that. And some of you say, so why should we care about the guy who was a parking bureaucrat? Because Donovan was very good at what he did, no matter what he did. But he had, in addition to his beautiful wife, Erin, he had a mistress. And his mistress was downtown Tucson. So I remember sitting with him and Herb Stratford for lunch one day, and I said, you guys both have heroin girlfriends. And they're like, what the hell does that mean? I said, you got a girl, you're in love with her, she's hot. Physical activities are good. But she's got a heroin problem. She doesn't show up for stuff. She sleeps through the day. You're holding her hair while she's vomiting in the bathroom. But you're still dating her. And I said, Herb, the Fox Theater is your heroin girlfriend, and Donovan, yours is downtown Tucson. Donovan's dedication. So Donovan's been there for it all. So I met Donovan when I was working with Tom Tracy, managing Bert Lopez's hotels downtown. Well, my son was born when I worked there 24 years ago. Worked with a scrappy director of sales named Betsy. And our buddy, like I said, Tom Tracy was our head honcho. And Donovan was the head of something at that time called the Downtown Tucson Alliance. And it's now become it's morphed into the Downtown Partnership. And what you got to remember about the Downtown Partnership is it's funded by the city of Tucson exacting an extra tax on all the downtown property owners. It's called the BID, the Business Improvement District. And what happened was that Donovan at times would earn the consternation of the power class because he always sided on the side of the small business owners downtown who were struggling. And in those days, downtown had a mix of everything, right? It had your restaurants. It had retail, though, right? Including our own beloved Margot from Hydra, the Chicago Music Store, right? Then you had your stalwart restaurants like Carlotta and the Flores family with El Charro, the effervescent Susanna over at Cafe Pocacosa, and all the variety of people. And I will tell you that I think Don was forced out of the head honcho job, and then they literally put like Joe Snell Jr. in there, which is Glenn Lyons, to take over, and Donovan was kind of below that, because Don was, I think, out on the wrong side of Mike Hine in those days, because this is a history lesson, guys. He always looked after the little girl, not the little girl, the little guy, the small business person, right? And he was open to everything out there, whether it was, he understood the importance of it, how it all tied together, right? The small business owner, the arts community, the property owners, security, that whole purple shirt thing, which is even more important than ever. That was years ago. And so whatever Don did, right, whether he was so remember, he went from Downtown Alliance, but then he became a council aide for Kozaczyk. This is before Kozaczyk went a little, right? Or the director of Park Tucson. Although when he left down, so what happened was, and I'll explain this when we come back, these jobs that he worked was always in service of making downtown better. He always wanted something to keep close that he can have an effect on downtown. This is a guy from Iowa, for God's sakes. But for something, he connected to downtown Tucson. So when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about Donovan. If you knew Donovan and you want to talk about a story or remember Donovan, call us 790-2040, 790-2040. Also happens to be the day of days, June 6th, D-Day. So usually it's traditional to play music of the era, and it's not that you need to bend me and Bat's arm to do some big band stuff and variety of other things. So you're on Wake Up Tucson, 10:30 The Voice, local news and talk. Matthew reminded me of the poetic irony that we're talking about our friend Donovan Dean Durband on D-Day. Very interesting. We're talking about my friend Donovan Durband, and he's going to be one of those unsung heroes of downtown, right? When people think of downtown, you'll think of some of the ugly, right? Which is some of that Rio Nuevo, Dan Ekstrom, Anne-Marie Russell, Mike Hine crap, right? But then they say, oh, when you think of the good parts of downtown and who brought it back, you're going to think Fletcher McCusker, right? You should think Herb Stratford with the Fox. But Donovan may not come to the front of your lips, and not that he craved it, right? That's the beautiful part about Don. But let's go to Billy Beard on line 2. Bill, I just read what you typed, which was beautiful, but I'm glad you're calling up to verbalize.
Good morning. Yeah, I won't claim to know Donovan as well as others do, but the thing that always struck me about the man was you and I have had this conversation many times about there's show horses and work horses.
Right.
And the show horses in life outnumber the work horses 10-1, 20-1. Pick your reference. But Donovan, it was also one of those people that reminded me a lot of a stage manager of a show. A good stage manager is one that does his job so well, no one notices him. And you articulated that he didn't seek out the spotlight. He wasn't afraid to be in the spotlight if it was required, but he was the kind of guy that did the grubby jobs, did the things that needed to be done to make sure that when it was time for the spotlight to shine, it was shining on the correct things. If you go to a show and somebody is managing the lights and the sound system and whatnot and doing a poor job of it, no one is going to enjoy the show. I don't care who the stars are. But if the the political business dynamic of downtown was to succeed, it will not happen without someone like a Donovan Durband doing all the behind-the-scenes things to make sure that the important parts of the story were being told and being told to the right people at the right times. They may not have liked what was being said, but he was the kind of guy that made sure that the right people were being told the right things at the right time.
I think there's something else too, right? So he was the ultimate downtown connector, right?
Yes.
Right, tying these disparate groups together because he could kind of see what they needed, and then he knew he was the easy guy to call and go, Don, I need blank, right? And he was like the Angie's List for downtown, right? You just called him up and said, "Hey Don, we're working on this. Who should I talk to?"
You know, if you were talking about an orchestra, and the orchestra demanded a percussion instrument that was not part of the regular repertoire, he would bring in he knew who to call to get the cannons in to make sure that the right sound was made at the right time.
Amen.
I know that's not the best analogy, but talking about someone like him, you have to understand there are people in life that do not seek the spotlight, but deserve it.
And I'm so glad what you started. In a town full of underperforming show horses, a workhorse like Don, this is why his death is going to be a huge loss for this community, because all we got is show horses.
And the worst part of it will be the show horses for the foreseeable future are going to start thinking, at least in part of their mind, why is this not working like it did before?
Amen. All right, Bill, thanks for that beautiful call, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day. 790-2040 if you want to talk about our good friend Don Durband. Let's go to Tia Gloria on line 3. Good morning, young lady.
Hey, Christopher.
Hey, babe.
Oftentimes, first of all, I just went into shock yesterday.
Me too.
It was the last thing I expected to hear. Many times when you want to know about an employee, about a person, you hear about it from their employees. And we were parking very close to the Fox on a Saturday, and we're going to meet friends at Père Cano restaurant, and they have purple shirts, right? The parking people.
Yeah, it's the purple security people. Yep.
And I said, now, are we going to be safe here? We're not going to get ticketed and whatever. And the young man was very easygoing. And I said, is Donovan, how's he doing? And he said, oh, he's great. He's doing very well, ma'am. And I said, would you please tell him Gloria asked about him? And he said, I'll do that. He is a great person. That, my friend, speaks volumes to me.
Yep.
And he, when I worked for the city, education, training, and development was my job. And I would have sometimes 200 people to do an orientation with. And I would call Donovan and I'd say, we want to do this. Is that possible? Way outside of parking, he would give me names and or make phone calls for me and make it work.
Yep.
Quickly, quietly, no problem. Once in a while, he'd say, let me tell you why you may not want to do that.
That's
he didn't
true.
say, don't do that, Gloria, don't do that. But let me tell you why you may not want to do that. And that is, really a person who cares. Suggesting to you that you might be about to step in it. What a great guy. What a great guy. Thank you, Donovan. Rest in peace.
Amen, sister. Thanks for the beautiful call, young lady.
Okay, bye.
6:29 in the morning. Christy Simone, we're going to continue on with talking about our good friend Donovan Durband. Bill Reisner, John Brakey, Ken Bennett in the second hour talking about the ballot imaging bill that was a bipartisan, passed the House and Senate, but was vetoed by Katie Hobbs. You're on Wake Up Tucson, 1030 The Voice. Good morning. Welcome back to the Wake Up Tucson show. Remembering our friend Donovan Durband on D-Day. Very ironic. And Donovan, if you're just tuning in, was a friend of mine from years ago who was in charge of Park Tucson when he passed away. And some of you, I just found out yesterday. It happened over the weekend. And I saw his wife's Facebook post about it. And keep Aaron and the family in your prayers. So Don was so Billy Beard said workhorse. That is true. Again, when you look at all the show horses, lots of talk, no real action or change. Don was the opposite of that. But Don was a live to serve guy, right? Either you're live to serve or live to be served, right? And Don was a live to serve guy. No ego. He just wanted to do whatever's the right thing, and his thing was downtown. And he was there when it was nothing going on. Nothing. So I was talking to Margot yesterday because Margot was great friends with Don, and I said, "Look, what happened was Don was a guy. So he's the director of Park Tucson, right? Or he was working for Kozaczek as a council aide, or whatever. Everything he did was he did those jobs so he can make downtown better. So as the director of Park Tucson, he did his job excellently. At the same time, he was still working on 12 things to make downtown better. He was and think about this guy. If there was a guy who should have been like on a Rio Nuevo board, it's Don, right? But he never was because he wasn't considered part of that power set, right? To be recommended for such a thing. I mean, we wasted time with Edmund Marquez on that board. He should have had a Don Durband, right? Because Don knew everything about downtown. He knew the history of downtown. He knew the siege that those downtown owners, when John McClane did the stupid coffins that people were living in, Don was part of that quiet crew going, no, you can't, no, we can't do this. You know what I mean? He had sympathy for those people, but he knew that was the wrong thing to do. What are you going to say, Matthew?
To your point, Herb Stratford put a post on Facebook yesterday, kind of his reminiscences of Don and Donovan. And he talked about how back in 97, when they were starting to have meetings about, hey, what can we do with this jewel that we have, the Fox Theater?
Yep.
And that's how far back it goes.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, your
involvement in downtown.
I mean,
and vision.
Yeah, you're talking 25 years, right? Where this guy he was involved in a lot of things. Right. Whether, again, what you're going to see from people, right? It's people from the arts world of downtown. It's the merchants downtown. It's the restaurant owners. Right. It's the people who are trying. I mean, if there's people who are the glue that kept downtown together over the last 30 years, right? It's a Donovan, right? It's a Carlota Flores and the Flores family, right? There's people that have just kind of it's like the soup Nazi. I suffer for my art, right? They suffered for their downtown, right? 790-2040. Byron, good morning, amigo. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Good morning to you. I'm calling in. I'm a retired city employee, and I got a chance to see Donovan from the ward office and then from the city manager's office, but also from the private sector. He gave something to the community that we don't see very often, sometimes only once in a generation. He may be the one. He always put the community first. He looked at downtown and actually all of Tucson like an empty canvas, and he just painted the picture. Rio Nuevo was flat on its back when Donovan got involved. He never knew the word no. He just never knew it. And he made it happen. And quite frankly, the best thing that the ward offices and the manager's office and everybody else could do is just stay out of his way. just let him do what needed to be done. And I, for one, did everything I could to help Donovan. Actually, you thought he was over on spot A, but he was already on spot C,
right?
Because he was just everywhere, and his legacy will last like a fine wine. It'll just keep on getting better because it'll be like, where did he go? What do you mean he's gone? It's impossible. He made this happen. I remember he had ideas for the old train station. He had ideas for bringing the locomotive down there. He had the idea of what to do with the Cup and that side of town and the great Hotel Congress area. And then at the other end, what to do with the old hotel that was constantly in battle with the city management. And he didn't get in between city and county or state or any other agency. He just made it happen. Someone could write an entire week on your show to indicate the things that Donovan did. He was like a submarine, run silent, run deep.
Amen.
He just didn't try and get the hero buttons. He just made it happen and let somebody else take the credit.
You are correct. He was definitely someone that said he was kind of the cement between the bricks on a lot of things, right? Just
no question about it.
Pulled it all together.
To be honest with you, to carry on to that, Chris, he brought the mortar and the bricks with him.
Yeah.
I mean, Real Nuevo was flat on its back, and we don't have to go into all the negativity, but the fact is, it was flat on its back. Not to Donovan. He said, "What a great opportunity," and then Flores, and then there's many others that know him even better than I do, saw different perspectives of him. I had truly a great privilege to know him from the inside in two different positions, and also got to know him on a personal basis. He was the real deal. And quite frankly, I personally can. That's all, Chris.
All right, my friend. Thank you for calling, Byron. Have a good day, man. Donovan and I used to have our best meetings at Medindetto. And what would happen is we would meet down there not only because we loved their food, because he knew he would no one from the city would ever see him with the troublemaker D. Simone. It was like our little secret lunch spot because none of the city council people, even Rahina, would be seen on South 12th eating lunch. Right? And it was like, so the only person we ever saw we saw Steve Leal once. This is long. He was long after being, but it was always cute. He's like, well, let's just meet someplace where, we won't be seen together. And I do. Chris brings his own heat. He's also the one that connected me with a guy when we first started the show. This guy had a blog, and it was what was his name again? He had
Matt Foraker.
How did you remember that one?
I knew where you were going.
Good job, buddy. And he did a thing called Sustainability something and something blog. And he's the one who he was friends with Don, and he's the one who started this. He started the term cloth, right? And the cloth was I remember I found a story still on there about Don. It was Matt's story about Don getting jobbed at Downtown Partnership as part of that whole Glenn Lyons and all that other stuff, right? And what happened was the cloth was it was talking about the
power structure,
right? The power structure, the private and public sector leadership that we've maligned on this show for 14 years and 2 months, right? They were all cut from the same cloth. So that's why when Joe and I had that TucsonChoices.com, one of the authors on there was called Cloth Cutter. And that was a ode to Matt Foraker's sustainability blog. And Matt really kind of nailed it with a lot of stuff in this town. But Don's the guy who introduced us to Matt in those days. And Matt wasn't a Republican. He was some sort of Democrat. He just got screwed over by the power structure, and it kind of opened his eyes. Don, what I loved about Don also is, and I could use Don. I needed 6 other workhorses like Don in various parts of Tucson's structure of how things get done around here, and the place would have been much better. But Don was always outnumbered by the show horses who didn't get much done. The show horses that were made chairs of downtown partnerships, right? The show horses on the city council. The show horses at Rio Nuevo. But he didn't care. He just wanted the best thing for downtown possible. And he was out there supporting so many things. So when I say to people I know who kind of done stuff downtown, and they're like, "Oh, I saw your post about Donovan. Who's Donovan?" And you know something? Don would like it that way. Right? So when you see all the time that's been wasted in glossy paper, like in Biz Tucson, of all these profiles of people, and then you see a guy like Don who goes unsung. Don wanted it that way. And I know Don didn't want credit for things or whatever. He just wanted it done and get better. But when you look at all the glossy paper that's been wasted on the show horses. So that's why we're not going to let Don's memory go easy in the night. I hope so. You know, I know it sounds like they're working on a Fox Theater memorial for Don, and which would be great. And then I think we have to figure out what needs to be constructed downtown so that Don is not forgotten. I don't know what that is, but let's make it good and classy. And we have to figure that out. So if anyone has a good idea for that, either call the show, 790-2040. I'd love you to call with a memory of Don. Or email me at wakeuptucsoncomments@gmail.com. I'm sure Fletcher's sitting on an extra $277,000. He doesn't know what, burning a hole in his pocket. I mean, we're giving money to French pastry shops, for God's sakes, down there. So let's go to break. You're on Wake Up Tucson, 1030 The Voice, local news and talk. We're remembering our good friend Donovan Durband, who passed away over the weekend. Sounds quietly in his bed. So you're on Wake Up Tucson, 1030 The Voice. All right, 6:51 in the morning, you're on Wake Up Tucson. Little add-on from Bill number 1, and the show horses never deigned to acknowledge the existence of the workhorses. That is true. Remember, we've done shows, workhorse, show horse. Joe used to do that with me. He would give me a name and go, workhorse or show horse, right? And there weren't that many workhorses. Lots of show horses. We're remembering our good friend Donovan Durband, downtown. Really, that's one of the souls of downtown who died over the weekend. And he was only in his 50s. This is not, he died quietly in his sleep, it sounded like, over the weekend. And, I understand you guys are clicking in. You want me to talk about politics and, no cops and all the good stuff we talk about here. But
we'll get there.
Plenty of time. Prayers to the Durband family and, of course, his lovely wife, Erin. And what I said in my Facebook post about this yesterday, there's only one thing that surpassed his love for downtown, and that was his wife. You could tell this is a couple that was truly in love long term, and she was she's a pretty talented photographer, and so anyway, I know she's crushed, as she should be, and so good thoughts and prayers for Erin and the family. All these things we talk about, so if you have Rio Nuevo building things and helping to build things and finance things, you also have to have what's the underlying current of all this thing, right? You can have buildings and shiny facades, right? But there are the other thing. So you have to have these. So that's why Don got involved with Mia and Kurt Tallis on the International Tucson Festival and Events Association. Remember, we were named an international city for festival events because he knew that programming was important, not just for Tucson, downtown Tucson, but for Tucson as a whole. Now, of course, lockdowns and all that crap just blew that whole idea into the toilet. Hopefully it comes back. But it was the idea that they were doing a one-stop shop for festival organizers. That because the more festivals you can have, right? The idea that you're bringing in more outside money, not just to downtown, but hopefully you have something that's attractive to the region that they would come to Tucson for. Like, if more Tucson meets yourselves, right? Chris has always been saying the idea that we've never had a Mexican food festival that happens every year in Tucson, Arizona is a damn sin, right? But it was the idea that those festivals, they're small ones that already exist that you may not even know that say, well, can we expand that, right? Like some of the hard work's already been done. How do we support and expand those things? And Don was on the forefront of that also, right? He was kind of part of that. The energy of focusing the energy downtown, Don was so important with that. And because what happens is everyone's got great ideas. There's great ideas, there's not so great ideas, there's good intentions and bad intentions. A lot of selfish intentions. Right? Because as David would say, right, it's about power, vanity, money, but mostly it's about the money. Right? And that stuff never motivated Donovan, right? I think he did a great job of trying to focus energies in the most positive way possible. And so when we talk about these, these things that downtown, right? Meet Yourself, Fox Theater, Jazz Festival, all of these things that you guys know and love if you're downtown, I bet there's a 94% chance Don had a chance of supporting it, expanding it, and helping it. So, and the big thing was, right, like as I think Byron said, right, his loss, his absence of what he did and how he did it is going to be massive downtown. Because sometimes he did things and you don't even know he did it. Right? Well, now he's not there to do it, and you'll notice. 790-2040. Let's go to Jeffrey on line 2. Jeffrey, good morning.
Good morning. I greatly enjoy your program and started listening to it about 3 months ago.
Wow. I'm surprised that didn't scare you off.
I was also a former Tuffy Toro, so I'm heavy duty into Tucson heritage and culture.
Were you the one that got tackled?
No, I wasn't, unfortunately. I was 2 years behind that.
All right.
But I was known for my Tuffy Toro home run dance. So,
gotcha. What's your suggestion, sir?
Okay, my suggestion, as I mentioned, I'm heavy into Tucson. I lived in Tucson most of my life. I'm suggesting a cultural/museum into which local artists can show their work, also can purchase for the tourists and everything like that. Adjacent to that, or within the same building, a small performance area for like folklorico dancers, mariachi. I myself entertain at assisted living facilities, so sing cowboy songs. It's something for entertainment.
Right.
Please, no more restaurants. But in regard to the museum, please no showing of our potholes.
We got to show the good and the bad and the ugly. So, Jeffrey, I got to get one more call in before break, but thank you for listening and thanks for the call.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
All right, let's get Herb Stratford on the line. Herb, got about 2 minutes. What's up, my friend?
Oh, I just want to express my just complete and total devastation. I know you've been hearing it all morning, but I just can't let it go by without letting my voice be heard. He was such a good friend to everyone he was such a good friend to downtown. I can't even sort of wrap my brain around the fact that he's not at the other end of my text anymore, and he won't be there to tell me, it's okay.
or that maybe that's not a great idea at this point. That's another thing you would tell you.
You're right. Yeah, let's remember that. Yeah, it's just a devastating loss. My heart aches for Aaron. I just thought this was a guy I was going to grow old being friends with, and yeah. I don't know. I'm just heartbroken. So I'm really glad to see everybody's support and everyone's there for hopefully for Erin to help her get through, because I can't even imagine what this would be like to her. So I just want to say that, and thank you for your kind words on Facebook yesterday. I think you really summed it up very well. So thanks for that.
He deserves more than that, but that's the best I could do. So thanks for the call, my friend.
All right, take care.
So Donovan him and his wife used to sell pasta at farmers markets, right? And so he would be at the Oro Valley Farmers Market, and I'd see him on a Saturday, and I think I cost him sales because I'd get him going talking about government stuff, politics, or downtown. And as people like, hey, I want to buy pasta. And he's like, hold on, I'm talking to Chris about something at the Downtown Partnership.